Okay, and I'm back. So, as we just left off, we had added our overtime hours column and we adjusted our formula to give our workers overtime pay. All right, that's what we worked on the first half. I do want you to notice that as soon as I made that change to this formula, which changed these numbers, that the numbers that depend on that cell, they automatically changed as well. Okay? This is an important concept in Excel, the fact that we have instantaneous kind of feedback. We have instantaneous results when we make changes to our formulas. If we change our numbers, let's say I want to go ahead and give Gary Cifaldi 40 hours. As soon as I tap enter, watch these cells over here between F and H. They immediately make the change. If I add overtime hours and I tap enter, they immediately reflect the change. And all the dependent cells that those would affect, they're instantaneously changed. Okay? This gives us an opportunity to do what is called what if analysis. So, I can be, as a manager, asking, what if I give my workers a little bit more hours? Can I afford that? Are they getting enough money? I can run some scenarios and I could test, maybe I'll give this worker a few more hours this week and that worker a few hours less this week, and I can see how much they're going to get paid and how much it's going to cost me as a manager. Okay? All right. So I want to set this example aside, and we're going to use a different example now, and we're going to go on to another sheet. So down at the bottom, let's change the name of our first sheet. I'm going to right click and rename this payroll and click OK. I need to add a second sheet. Now you'll see I already have that added sheet. Let me just delete it and I'll show you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click this little plus sign to add sheet number 2. It'll probably say sheet number 2 for you. We're going to right click and we're going to rename this one car loan, because what we're going to get an example for on this sheet is a more advanced function. Okay? All right. So in the car loan sheet, now I have this blank sheet. I need to set up my table. Okay? So we're going to start off with A1 as our example. We're going to put in car. And to the right of this, we're going to put what's called the principal. The principal is a fancy way of saying what's the original value of the car. Like how much does it cost? If I go to my neighbor and he's got that sticker in the window that says I'm selling this car for this amount, that's the principal amount. I also have what's known as, we're then going to put in C1, we're going to put in term in months. So this is going to tell me for how many months am I taking out a car loan, because we're looking at not buying this car outright. I don't have $15,000 in my pocket. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to ask for a car loan. Okay, and that car loan is going to be good for a certain number of months. So maybe a 5-year car loan is going to be 60 months. 5 times 12 months in a year. That's going to be 60 months would be a 5-year loan. Next to that, I'm going to have my interest rate. Okay, so let's call it interest rate. This is going to be a percentage. This is essentially how much money the bank is going to be pulling out per month, as compensation for the fact that they gave you this loan. All right. And to the right of that, in E1, we are going to put in monthly payments. Monthly payment. I could do this afterwards. I'm just making sure that I expand my columns, that they're wide enough to see what's in those cells. All right. In F, we're going to look at the end of term cost. So after we've paid out our 5-year loan, how much is that eventually going to cost us? And then in G1, we're going to add a column that says and calculates the price of the loan. And this will make more sense as we go through and I show you what's in these formulas and these functions, so that we can, so that you can get kind of an idea of how we can use Excel to make some decisions, some real decisions that we might have in our real life. You might be looking in the next couple of years to purchase a car. If your parents, hopefully your parents will be helping you through your first car purchase, but not everybody will. And even after that, at some point, you're going to have to be making your own decisions about buying your own car. So here we go. Let's fill in this information. So underneath car and A2, we're going to just call these, we're not going to describe the cars. We're just going to call this, car A, car B, car C, and car D. All right. If you want, you can put in some car names. It's fine. But I'm just going to do cars A through D. And we're going to give these some principal amounts. Now, these are going to be probably used cars, used vehicles. We're going to buy them from a professional vendor, okay, a used car lot or something along those lines, so that we can get financing from the bank. And at any rate, our first car, we're going to say this is, $15,000. Car B is going to be, let's say, $19,000. Car C, we're getting more expensive. Maybe it's got more features. We're going to go with $21,000. Oh, what did I do wrong? I'm adding commas here. And really, although it's going to do it fine for me, I probably should do that using the number formats. But I'm going to plug ahead. This will work just the same for this example. And then we're going to go, like our dream car is going to be what? $35,000. Okay. All right. For each of these cars, we're going to look at the same amount of time that we're going to pay them back. We're going to go 60 months all the way down. So that's a 5-year loan. Okay. And let's plug in some different interest rates. Okay. So let's start with 3.4% interest rate, and we're going to go with a 4.5% interest rate. We're going to go with a 5.0 interest rate, and just to compare, maybe we get a deal on this one, and we're going to go with like a 4.5 interest rate here. Okay, so you guys can fill these in. You can put in car names, but let's use the same prices just so I know what I'm looking at here. We want to make sure that these are labeled as percentages. So I'm going to highlight that area, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click on percentage. Oof. All right. So what it's doing right now is it's taking that 3.40, it's converting it to a percentage from the whole number. So we're not getting it correct. All right. We're going to, now that we have this percentage, we're going to retype this in so it's better. All right. So 3.4, 4.5, 5, 4.5. Okay, that looks better. I'm actually going to reduce the decimal points so that that looks a little bit nicer and cleaned up there. Okay. All right. So this is the information that I have from, the price of my car and the loan that's being offered to me by the bank. We have how many months I'm going to be paying it back and what's the interest rate that the bank is going to be asking for the privilege of taking out that loan. Okay? All right. So here we go. What we're going to use to answer this question to find our monthly payments is the PMT function. Okay? So we're going to start off our function this way with an equal sign. Always, whether you're doing a function or a formula, you always start with the equal sign. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to type in PMT. And you're going to see that it recognizes that function right off the bat. It says calculates the payment for a loan based on constant payments and constant interest rate. Okay, this is a very simplified payment, but it's going to work for us. I don't know how to calculate what the cost of monthly payments are going to be for a loan like this. I don't know it off the top of my head, but Excel does, all right? And we can use Excel to kind of get an idea for how this works. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double click on PMT to confirm that that's the function I'm trying to use. And inside the parentheses down here, I have this helper tool, and this helper tool is going to help me fill in this function. It says rate, NPER, PV, FV, and type. These things, oh God, okay. Sorry, I'm hesitating here because what makes an advanced function advanced is the fact that it sometimes takes specialized information to know how to make that function work correctly. Okay, and Excel has a tool that's going to help us figure out how to make that function work, and we're going to get into that. But I'm running long here, so we're going to break this up. I'm just going to kind of change how I break up the assignment. This will be the assignment for lesson 10. But at any rate, what we're looking at here with this PMT function, we've got this helper tool, but if we click on this little hyperlink down here, or we can also get it by clicking on this insert function button. Either way, it's going to help us by opening up a helper tool. This helper tool is going to tell us about the function, what it's supposed to do. It's going to give us information about what goes in each of those different arguments. All right, so there's a lot to cover with functions when you're trying to understand how it's working. So let's break this down real quick. The syntax is like what needs to be written in order to make the function work. We have at the beginning, we have the function name, and then inside the parentheses, we have different arguments. Each argument is separated by a comma. If an argument is optional, that is, we don't need it for the function to work, you're going to see these square brackets around them. Okay, so we could stop the function with rate, NPER, and PV. Those are all required, but for special features, we can include added arguments. In the PMT function, we're asking for 3 very important required fields: the interest rate for the loan, the total number of payments on the loan, and the present value, which is another way of saying the principal value. Okay, that's another word for that. Okay, I'm going to pick up here in just a second. And like I said, I'm going to break this up. This is going to become lesson 10. So I'll be back with you shortly.